So there you are, sitting in your English class reading the absolutely true diary of a part-time Indian and enjoying it. Suddenly, your principal walks in and whispers to the teacher. Shortly after, the teacher rounds up every single book in the classroom, not every book, every copy of the absolutely true diary of a part-time Indian, of course, and takes them out of the room. You don't know where they went. You were just getting to an interesting part in the book. So where did it go? Well, as it turns out, the school board decided to ban the book for questionable content. Now, as a kid, you may be agreeing with that. You're like, okay, well, maybe there are some things that I shouldn't be reading about in this book. However, the older you get, the more prone you are to dealing with these things anyways. So what's even the point of banning the book? Today, I will be talking to you about why banning books is wrong, especially in the education field. The 3 points that I will be going over are how they do not protect the kids like they claim, the fact that the kids are old enough to understand this stuff and should get representation of it, and the fact that kids have to experience things for themselves. So let's crack open the book and get right into it. Now, like I said, reading a book is an experience that every kid has. Everybody has read at least one book, I hope. However, these books are getting banned for questionable content. But when you get down to it, how does banning the book even help the kids? They still get the questionable content through other sources. So what's banning a book in a high school classroom going to do for a kid? It's going to protect them from a book, sure, yeah, but the experiences are still there. They're still present in real life, and hiding them from the kids doesn't help them at all. It's a form of coddling that kids don't need, especially as they get older. Now, another part of my argument is representation. Many books get banned because of references to sexuality or maybe even dealing with racism. Some books get banned for stuff that people actually go through. That is taking representation of things that kids do go through out of their schools. Those kids may feel indoctrinated, they may feel left out because there are other kids that their books aren't getting banned. For example, at a school in, I believe it was Ohio, a book or a comic that had a homosexual couple got banned in the school. And the librarian herself, Miss Kimberly, ended up arguing against the school board to try and get the book back because she was getting complaints from kids who were homosexual, who felt that their representation was getting completely pulled out of schools. And that's just not fair to anybody. Why would a school try to remove something that kids can relate to? It just makes them feel, as I said, indoctrinated, left out, and honestly, it's just not fair to them. Now, my other point was books are good. Now, books are good for a lot of reasons. Mainly because teach kids how to read. That's good. And some books that teach kids how to read also teach kids questionable words, such as, for example, curse words or the N-word in multiple cases where books have been banned for using the N-word, especially books that were published earlier in the 1900s, late 1800s, and beforehand. However, those words still exist. They're not going to go away just because they're not reading them. And honestly, depriving them of reading those words takes a bit of their freedom away. It takes away from the kids' choice of what to read. It takes away from kids reading books that are otherwise outstanding. An example of this is, as I said earlier, Huckleberry Finn. That is an outstanding book, an American classic, and it's being taken out of classrooms due to questionable language that kids are going to hear anyways over the microphone on Xbox. So what's the point of even bothering to take it away? Now, the argument for taking the books away is, as I have said multiple times, the fact that the schools and parents and oftentimes are trying to protect children. And that's all fine and good. It's wonderful to want to keep your child safe. However, you're not really keeping them safe. Well, as I said, you're depriving them of stuff that exists. You're kind of making it's like being a helicopter parent. It's just branching a little gap between what your kid experiences and reality. And that's not going to benefit the kid once they get into the real world. Eventually, they're going to move out and they're going to hear people say the F word on a subway. And do you want your kid crying when they hear that? Do you want them to have no experience of that beforehand? To recap, books shouldn't be banned for multiple reasons, including they create a gap between reality and what the kid experiences in their youth. They serve to represent different minority groups or people who are otherwise indoctrinated or different. And finally, they serve to give kids a bigger vocabulary. This has been Ethan Jensen. Go read this book. Very good book. It's been banned a lot. Thank you.